Hi, English 10s. It's Miss Picard, and I'm recording another video for you about the essay writing process. I hope you've had a really good week and that you had a good start to your introductions. I've read a bunch of them and they were really enjoyable, so I'm excited to help you with this next phase of getting your writing really to dive deep into the text and develop your ideas about the topic. So today we're going to be revisiting that little developing ideas slide with the parts of an essay laid out for you. The goal is going to really be to remember to circle around and keep focused on your particular opinion about your topic, and not to lose sight of that as you integrate quotes and as you talk about the details of the story. You want to always keep the persuasive part of your argument front and center throughout this process. We'll also talk about how do you make the sections of your paper stick together so that there's not only coherence internally to a paragraph, so that a paragraph makes sense on its own, but that there's also a fluid connection across your paragraphs in order to guide your reader along so that they never lose sight again of what you have to argue and what you are going to convince them of. Okay, so I'm excited to do this for you. Let's dive in to the body paragraph part of your essay. Now, to be diving in here, you have to have your focus idea, and that's the first thing that I'm going to remind you to kind of revisit. If you haven't read the topic before starting today's writing, I'd encourage you to go back and just reread through. Remind yourself, if you're doing topic number 1, about what it means to respond, that you're going to have to talk not just about the chaos in the world of the play, but you're going to have to talk about how Romeo, Juliet, the friar, Tybalt, Mercutio, how different characters actually act or how their thinking changes. So that respond word in that topic question is really important. And I'd invite you, as you're refocusing in on writing body paragraphs, to just keep that topic front and center, and also remind yourself about the connotations, or in other words, the connections that you have to those words. The second topic, the place adjusting about the impact of independence in a person's life. So whether you're focusing just on one person's independence, like just following Juliet in the story, or whether you're going to focus on more than one person, people who have independence, people who don't, your job is to talk about the role of that factor in people's lives. You're going to have to decide whether you talk about one character as an example and the different ways it impacts them, or whether you talk about different characters and how independence can manifest differently, how it can show up differently in different people's lives. So that's the point at which we are at today, where you really have to, at this point, if you haven't already in your introduction, you have to commit to where your argument's going to lead. Now, I've encouraged you so far to visualize, to actually put a picture and imagine in your head what your sections are going to look like, and also to visualize consistently, so every time, going back to your focus idea in the intro material to each of your paragraphs. So you can see on the far right-hand side, this inverted triangle is your introduction, right? And then you have the little section that has your body paragraph number 1, body paragraph number 2, body paragraph number 3. That's super helpful. Those sections are always going to return to that dark black bar, that main idea that you said in your introduction. That's something you're going to have to check along the way. Did I actually keep connected? So the triangles show focus, and they show focus on your thesis. Remember to keep touching back, and it is like an athlete preparing for a big game day. You'll know this if you've sort of heard Olympic athletes talk about training, or professionals in any sport really, talking about getting in the right mindset. Picturing the organization, picturing your end point is a really helpful strategy. It's also going to help you when it comes to making this choice about which way you organize your focus in each paragraph, because you have options. There's not one law saying that you have to write a 5-paragraph essay. Your essay might be only 4 paragraphs, or 2, or 6. But there is a convention that usually teachers teach to developing an idea with multiple parts. So you can feel free to use this map that's on the right-hand side with 3 paragraphs, an intro, and a conclusion, but you can also know you're free to take some of those paragraphs out if they don't fit your idea. The idea has to guide what you're going to talk about. So if your idea about independence is that some people use it in positive ways, like building their own confidence, but some people use it in risky ways that tear apart your relationships. I'm thinking there, like, confidence might be Juliet. People who tear relationships apart a little bit with independence might be Tybalt. I don't know, because he's so on his own. He's such a wild card and such a quick actor that he kind of causes some problems with that Mercutio duel. So maybe if it's about foil and you have two different people who are behaving differently in the play, then you might choose option number one and have each body paragraph focus on a different person. So you can see the white people here, that's trying to focus in on a different character in each of these sections of your paper. So Romeo would be body paragraph 1, Juliet in Independence would be body paragraph 2, maybe she does it right, and then Tybalt in Independence would be body paragraph 3. That's a possibility. You might not want to do that. You might want to instead just have 2 characters, and then you just cut off this last section, right? You wouldn't have that 3rd paragraph, and that's okay, especially in grade 10. But in other essays, you might actually, so the one where it's talking about response to chaos, you might find that some people respond really calmly, and that serves them well. So maybe Friar Lawrence, he's able to plan things out. He wants to tell Romeo to slow down. Maybe one response is calm. I respond to chaos with calm. Another response, though, might be I respond to chaos by creating more chaos, or by like enjoying and reveling in the chance to tear things apart. And then you'd be looking for a person who is responding aggressively. So you can take a look at that. Would be response number 2. So maybe a Tybaldy person. I'm giving Tybalt a bit of a bad rap, but he's a really interesting character. He's just very aggressive, right? So just kind of be aware of that. I'm only showing you one side to Tybalt. I know there's more than that one side, but it's a common side to talk about. So maybe response number 1 is, okay, chaos and I'm calm. Or response number 2 is chaos and I thrive on the chaos. Maybe response number 3 is something totally different, that in chaos, rather than just being calm, maybe the person is worried or acts impulsively, but they act deliberately. So not just calm, it's all cool, I got this, maybe overconfident calm, like Friar Lawrence, maybe not like impulsive aggression, but maybe like reasoned, think it through reactions to that chaos. And maybe that's a Romeo figure who tries to make peace at first with Mercutio and Tybalt, who, doesn't want to duel. Maybe that's a Juliet figure who is so caught up in the love in the moment, but she's able to say, wait, let's think this through. Let's talk through some steps here about what we're going to do. So response number 1, response number 2, response number 3, they could come from different characters, but the focus there is on different responses because the topic is about ways of acting, right? So option 2 makes a lot of sense if you're doing topic 1 because it's about different actions that happen. But you'll notice that it also works as a character focus because I kind of have different people in mind for each of those ways of reacting. I could talk about how Romeo does all 3, how he's calm, how he's aggressive, but he also makes good judgments. But oftentimes in a play, there's like characters who really show that point as a central part of their person. And so it's also possible that option 2 is kind of a little like option 1, but it's just reframing it with actions at the heart, at the core. Okay. Option number 3 is one that I call IHC. It's designed to be a chronological look at how one person changes over the course of the story. Now, this is a great one if you have a significant change in a person. So if you believe that Romeo at first was responding to the rivalry and the chaotic family situation, maybe apathetically he wasn't invested in it, then he becomes more invested when he falls in love with Juliet and becomes more of a peacemaker, but he makes some mistakes and consequently there's a bad end. Then this might make sense to you if you want to follow one character. So initially is that first step where they are at the beginning. However, is like, it's supposed to be that in the middle part, but notice it's about something you're interpreting about that middle. It's not just saying what happened in the middle. It's saying initially a character's like this, that's analysis. However, they make a choice in the middle that changes things, then you're analyzing how that thing changes in the middle. And then the consequence at the end, you're not just saying what happened, but you're linking together that there's a consequence to specific actions. You're talking about the topic with each of those phases. So this is a great option if you see the clear chronology of a character. You have to be careful not to just retell. So it's the option that's it's got that danger in it, in that you have to make sure you're not just saying what happened. But if you can talk about the character and the topic together over the course of the story, this is a really nice organized way to talk about that kind of change in one person. And it would work for either topic. It would work if you're talking about independence, and it would also work if you're talking about responses to chaos, because there could be different responses. So in that case, body paragraph 1 would be about one character at the start. Body paragraph 2 would be about that same character in the middle and how a choice that they make caused a shift or change. That's that middle orange part. If you followed the thesis writing, that was a chemical reaction diagram. That's that middle catalyst part. And then at the end, consequence, there's a result from that choice that the person made. And again, 1, 2, and 3 all focus on one character. So that's another option to organize your paper. There's 3 out there. There are more than 3 ways to do this, but I'm giving you 3 choices to help you think about what fits your idea the best. And once you're done that, then you're going to zoom into specific body paragraphs. So notice like the one section here now requires extra special zoom in when I'm writing. I'm going to be checking for balance, for point, proof, and discussion, that I have a good mix of those, and that I didn't put all of my proofs at the end or all of my discussion in one section, but that they're actually woven together, right? I want to make sure that my point, my proof, and discussion, they actually connect. So it doesn't always have to be in that order. You might have point, proof, discussion, discussion, proof, discussion, discussion, right? You might have more sentences or sentences that do both things, proof and discussion. You might have a talk that's linked to a quote, but the idea is that you should have a sense that they connect together, and that the most of your paragraph is devoted, just like this is mostly discussion in the size of this billboard, most of your paragraph should be you talking about what stuff means. Okay, so first you're going to set up your focus. That's that topic sentence. It's like throwing a ball in the air in tennis, right? There's a wait time. You have to get our eyes focused on what you want to talk about. Then you're going to zoom into specific moments and choices. And I put that little icon of the creeping stare there, because it's like zooming in on a camera with a camera. You want to choose 1 or 2 moments in the story that back up what you say. And more than just moments, it's good to try and choose words and phrases, to actually use the words as they're shown in the text, because it shows that you're really aware that an author is crafting and putting together their story a particular way. It's what makes the movie version of Romeo and Juliet from 2005 different than the movie version with Leonardo DiCaprio from, a decade earlier. There's different ways of showing that same storyline. So it's best if you can zoom in to talk about the particular way that it's shown in the play. Words and phrases, metaphors, images, trying to zoom into that level of detail. And there's a separate video on integrating quotes that will help you with that. The third thing is to make sure that you have that discussion and pause. The most common mistake I see students making is that they don't pause. They're so excited to write and show what they know, right? They give me tons of proofs and they don't talk about what each one really means. Or they forget to talk about the actual wording inside of a quote, like why that word? Pause to talk about each of your proofs. And if that means you use less proof, that's probably okay and actually good, because being selective is way more difficult than just putting it all out on the page, right? So rather than just having a giant list of proofs, choose the best 2, choose the best 3, and then stop and really talk about what those moments or those quotes are doing. Okay, so that really takes us through the organizational components of your paper, the different options that are in front of you for organizing your body paragraphs, and then the way to zoom into a body paragraph to make sure that that point, proof, and discussion balance is all there together. Next video, we'll be talking a little bit about these 2 tips on integrating quotations. So I'm gonna guide you to look at that video separately. For right now, because we're talking about sections, I think it's useful to just bring up as a final point that there are some ways that are easy to make sure that your sections fit together once they're already balanced internally. And so fitting them together, one place to look and see if you've kept focus is in your topic sentences. And that's that black box area that we saw on the map of our paper. Make sure that you're mentioning the topic word or some of the synonyms that you brainstormed to keep that fresh in your reader's mind. If you've used a metaphor in your introduction, you can revisit it in your topic sentences a little. But the key is to both talk about what that unique paragraph focus is, and then also keep connected to that main idea that you have. Concluding sentences are also really helpful for this. So the very last sentence in a paragraph, if you can smooth the way into what the paragraph that follows with a little bit of a hint about what's to come, that really is a great and advanced skill to help your paper stick together, create some great continuity, and it makes it seem effortless that your paper is sticking together, even though it's really hard to make it look that way for most people, right? So bridging the gaps, those transitions, first I would attend to the structural transitions that are your big, it's like a macro lens, big macro zoomed out structures like your topic sentences and your concluding sentences. Those are going to help with the jigsaw of the big sections together. But internally to your paragraph and also in those little topic sentences, a great strategy that will help you is to use some transitional phrases. Now you can see there's a link embedded here. This is an optional thing, but I have a little workshop on transitional phrases that might help you to experiment with some words. The first page is looking for them in paragraphs. The second page is a table that has transitional phrases laid out and organized according to their function. When I was going through high school, my teacher in IBAP gave me a list similar to this. It's not identical, but this is a newer version. But similar to this, and what she challenged us to do was to integrate between like 5 and 7 over the course of the year and try and use them a little bit in your writing more and more. Now, we've had a weird year with this online learning disruption. And even in the course of a regular year, you might not do 5 brand new phrases all the time in your writing, but having a few that you challenge yourself to use is not a bad thing, I don't think. So it's an optional upgrade, level up challenge. But I'd encourage you to look at the table of transitional phrases, and pull out a couple that you think would help your writing to be a little more connected and sophisticated, and to try using them in your own writing over the next couple of years, not just in the remaining weeks or that we have, but in the next little while in your learning journey. Okay, there are other things you can do like weaving metaphors, writing conclusions, and titling your paper well. Those I say with a colon because it's nice to have a title and then a subtitle, right? So star-crossed lovers, colon, the role of fate in Romeo and Juliet. Or let's do one that's actually on a topic we're doing. I practice on the role of courage, right? So let's say courageous missteps, the necessity of courage and its boundaries for safety or its boundaries for health. I could have like courageous steps, and then I could say the usefulness of those of courage and its overstepping in Romeo and Juliet. So having a title, then like a little subtitle is a really nice strategy to use. There's more about metaphor weaving and conclusion writing in our final weeks of doing the essay, so I'm going to leave that right there. If you haven't already done so, my challenge to you is to do some body paragraph writing now. So to look back at your paper, get in your head, visualize your organization, choose from among some options about how you're going to put things together, and then to zoom into the individual paragraphs to make sure that they are connected, balanced, and that they retain your focus idea. And then after you've done that, take a closer zoom into some topic and concluding sentences to see if the paragraphs actually connect up. And the exemplars that are inside of your course pack for Romeo and Juliet, they're at the very end. If you scroll way down to the bottom, the exemplars will help you there to take a look and see how that fluency, how that connectedness really pays off in the excellent paper. Okay, enjoy your week. Happy writing. I hope that I see you for the quotation use tutorial, and connected in with that quotation use tutorial, I will be going through the rubric of a critical analytical essay in our Alberta context. So take a look at that, and it will be posted also on our classroom feed. Okay, have a great week, everybody. Thank you for listening. Bye. Stop this recording. Bye.